want to start this episode out by saying that we're going to be talking about a sensitive topic. October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so this is a trigger warning for anybody who may feel uncomfortable or not ready to listen to this. Thank you. All right. So October.
Octobre.
See,
wait, how do you sound more Spanish than I do?
Because she just has the natural roll of the tongue. I'd like to introduce you to a very good friend of mine, Maria. I'm going to have you say your last name because I am going to butcher it.
I think you should try it first, Lindsay.
Oh,
the
reverse card Uno?
Oh, man. It's custom.
Let me just finish for her.
Yeah.
It's contomercos.
Cantomercos.
That's right, Lindsay.
Say it one more time.
Contomercos.
Cantomercos.
Contomercos.
Okay.
Cantomercos.
You can say this.
Sing it.
Okay.
Cantomercos.
Cantomercos.
There you
That
go.
was actually a little bit
I know, that's what I'm
You
saying.
gotta sing it.
You have to
sing
sing
it.
it. Some Spanish and like Latin-based, even though it's Greek. Yeah,
It's Greek,
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
100% Greek.
Yeah.
Maria you're from Greece, correct? Or you're from Cincinnati, but you are Greek.
Cincinnati, Ohio,
Yes.
born and raised, but I am first generation Greek, and that's my first language. So I speak Greek fluently,
It's so
and I'm
cool
so
to listen.
proud to speak Greek. And I want to thank my mother actually and my dad for teaching me Greek.
Yeah, you have to learn it
You
young.
have to thank your parents.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I know, and
first-
I'd like to throw it out and not thank my grandparents for
I
not
know.
teaching my parents how to
Let's-
speak Italian.
Hey, Lindsay, we can always learn. We can always learn Italian.
No, but listen, can you imagine Lindsay walking around saying things in Italian? A bunch of like.
No one knew what I was saying.
Oh my!
I'd be in trouble.
That's
He'd
what
be
I'm
like,
saying.
we can't be friends. God was
I
like, do
can
not
only-
give her this power.
And I'd be like, what did you
Language
say?
power.
Oh no.
Do not give it
Oh, nothing.
Oh, nothing. No, but she. Thank you for all the tips for Cincinnati food too.
Oh, I
Basically,
can't
I
wait.
didn't know Cincinnati was a Cincinnati foodie.
A Cincinnati foodie.
Yeah.
And one thing I was telling Luke
Worldly
about
foodie.
Cincinnati, Ohio, what it's known for, believe it or not, it's owned by a Greek. You know, believe it or not, it's called Skyline Chili, and it's literally.
We went through
You like the Instagram?
we went to their website, and it's literally like a hubcap full of chili, cheese. But they also
So when we go into Cincinnati?
yeah for
Anytime.
but
that
so they
sounds
have
so
hot
good.
dogs, but they also do like a sandwich version without the hot dogs,
And that's what I get.
which I think I've done.
I think I would like more. I would like the so it's basically a chili dog without the
chili dog. And I think I've done that before
A
too.
chili
When you
cheese
run out of
sandwich.
hot dogs, you get the bread and you put a little chili cheese.
It's a chili. It's like a sloppy
So
Joe
good.
sandwich. You know?
And I'm assuming they have their own proprietary meat sauce, like chili.
They have their own meat sauce, and believe it or not,
Yeah.
they sell it at major grocery stores in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They sell it at Kroger now. And when I was coming home back from visiting my parents, I went to go buy it at the grocery store. They were sold out of the original Skyline Chili. Because of the COVID pandemic, you would think toilet paper sold out, but it was Skyline Chili.
All right,
Yeah.
write this
And
down.
you get the
Necessities.
staples.
Necessities. Visit Cincinnati. Write this down. Get
Yeah.
chili.
Another thing he's going to do when he visits Cincinnati, he's going to go to Octo,
Yeah,
Cincinnati's
Looked
newest
official.
Greek restaurant. It's amazing.
beautiful mural.
Beautiful
It was just
mural.
beautiful place too.
Go to Montgomery and Ribs, also
Yeah.
owned by a Greek
Yeah.
person known for their
Now,
ribs.
is there like a root? Is there like a Greek root that I don't know about in Cincinnati? Are there a lot of Greeks in Cincinnati?
There are so many Greeks in Ohio, period, and there's so many Greeks
Really?
in Cincinnati. So there is like literally a Greek Orthodox church in Cincinnati. There's one in Dayton, Ohio. There's one in Akron. There's one in Canton. There's 3 in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
and that's high density to have Greek Orthodox
It's
churches,
very,
right?
very high density
Okay.
to have Greek Orthodox. But there's a huge community of Greek Orthodox in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Wow.
Yeah.
And everybody's very close and everybody helps each other. And that's what I miss about Cincinnati.
Yeah.
The Midwest hospitality.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong, I love
was gonna
my
say-
friends at the East Coast like Lindsay.
No one ever
moving.
says. No one ever says, "Yeah, gotta love New England for their good
New England.
hospitality." But we try. We try to do it
But
enough.
I love you guys. You guys
Yeah.
are part of my family. And
Oh, thank
Oh, we love you.
Stop it.
You are so
Stop
great.
it.
I know.
No, they
Oh my
have
goodness.
like a lot of my Dominican friends that live in Providence. So what happens is like a family will move here.
yeah.
And then
and
family
then-
moves where their family is.
Yeah, but even if you're not family, but you're Dominican, you're gonna somehow they all know each other. They contact, hey, how do I get a cell phone? How
That's
do I
right.
rent? And then that keeps happening more and more and more, and then that's where you build these little communities, which is so
Fun
cool.
fact, that's exactly how it is. My family and Frank Coletta's family
Yeah.
came from the same little village
I
in
believe it.
Italy, Fornelli. the same
Wow.
little, because I had said that to him one day, and he was like, "That's where
I'm
my
from.
family." And I was like, "Well, my grandma did tell me that she used to remember little Frank in church."
Yeah.
So why would that? Yeah, they all grew up. A lot of them were in Natick and West Warwick.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's
isn't that
true.
crazy?
Honestly, I think when someone comes over as an immigrant, like off the boat, like my dad did, my dad never finished the 4th grade.
Yeah.
And what I found so proud about my father is he built, you know, an empire for his family
Yeah.
and to help his family and to give us a good life here in the United States. So he came, I asked my dad, I go, "Why did you land in Cincinnati, Ohio, Dad?" He goes, "Well, I came because my uncle brought me to Cincinnati, but we were supposed to go to Atlanta, Georgia, but then we
Oh.
decided not to go to Atlanta, Georgia, and we ended up in Cincinnati." I'm like, of all places.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, right in the middle of the country.
in the middle
too.
of the country, but it's, you know, it has a lot of Greeks, and I miss it a lot. But you know what? We're only one plane away from Cincinnati, Ohio, or an
Yeah.
RV away.
Yeah. All right, man. Stop it. Stop it.
One Subi drive.
One-
Oh my goodness.
What happens too with kind of immigrant communities that come here too is, let's say we're 3 separate families.
Right.
You want to open up a restaurant. What we do is we kick in money so that they can open up their restaurant.
That's true.
Once they're up and going, I want to open a restaurant. Then you two give me money to open up a restaurant, and
Oh.
it keeps going around and around and around. And that's how you.
Build a
It's
huge
just crazy how it.
community.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
It's really old school.
I was
way.
gonna say, is that something that you've seen with your Dominican
Oh,
friends
yeah.
in Providence?
Oh, yeah.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh yeah. It's cool, and it's cool to watch too.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
Because as they build more, equity within each other, you can build, and you start
You
seeing
build
it
up.
flourishing.
Yeah, that's
And,
awesome. I
mean,
love that.
I know, it's really cool.
I love it.
I love to see like communities thrive, like in that sense, especially
Cincinnati,
like.
I'm coming for you.
Cincinnati.
Yeah.
We're coming home.
Hey. And we should say, so we met. Oh my gosh, when was the first time we met?
Gosh,
I
Lindsay
don't
and I
remember.
met about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I had
it-
contacted you through Instagram when we opened up Yoleni's Greek Italy here in Providence, Rhode Island, which is an
Yeah.
amazing Greek
It
restaurant.
is
If you've
really
never
cool.
been to.
I had lunch there today
Yeah.
It's so good.
with Maria.
Yeah.
Alexander
No invite.
Philippides and Alexander Philippides, who are my dear cousins, own the
Not
restaurant.
the same person. Alexandra and Alexander.
Alexander is her
Yeah.
husband.
It always kills
Yeah.
me.
And the very first one was actually, the flagship store is actually in Athens, Greece.
Yep.
So when they decided to come here,
I
literally,
want to go.
I want to go
we're gonna
so bad to Greece, so bad.
Yeah.
and everything actually in the market is imported from Greece.
Yeah, so
Literally
We should
comes from
tell them.
Greece.
So Yoleni's has a market inside the restaurant
Yeah.
as well,
There's a market
and
inside
it's
the
all it's all stuff that was
Everything's
imported,
from
Oh,
Athens.
it's so
from-
amazing.
not Athens, Greece. Everything's imported from different parts of Greece.
Yeah.
So what Alexander and Alexander do, they go and research a lot where the best olive oil regions are. So olive oils come from Sparta. Olive oils come from the island of Crete. Then the honeys and like
the
the
honey.
Greek teas
Yeah.
and the Greek yogurt. that
Oh,
we
tell
make.
them about what we were talking about earlier, the mountain tea. I think we
Mountain
should
tea.
talk about
so
that.
honestly, when I was a little girl and I would get the flu, my mother always made me this Greek tea from the mountains, and my mother would bring it back every year from Greece. So the next day I would be cured from the flu, and I'm like, what is this like special mountain tea, Mom? What is in here? So what they do in Greece, my uncle did it this past summer when I was in Greece. He would go up to the mountains, and go. There's these special trees that have these leaves, and it's tea actually, and they pick it. And what you do is actually you put it in like water, and it boils, and it turns yellow, and it's a special tea. And it's a special tree, which I would definitely find out what it's called again. Alexandra knows, and it's like a homemade remedy that makes you better from the flu.
Isn't that crazy?
So, but
and
then
it,
you
and
wanna
it probably
put-
can only grow there too.
It can only grow in Greece, but the other thing a lot of people don't know about,
Yeah.
You're into home remedies and stuff. I knew you would like that.
you would love this, and everybody here, I think in the United States and all over the world, have digestive issues.
Yeah.
I do tremendously.
We talked a lot about that in our last
Yeah.
podcast.
So
actually.
there is an island in Greece called Chios, and the island of Chios actually has a tree that makes mastika, which is the mastika like a rock. So what doctors and what scientists have found out is this mastika actually helps your digestive system.
Yeah.
So in Yoleni's, what we have is the mastika, which you can find, and we also have mastika water, which I think you've tried before. It's amazing. And every time I have a stomach ache or I have feel like I have heartburn, I go drink some mastika or take a mastika, and it's cured.
I need to do that for Justin. That's
I wonder-
amazing.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Camilla too. Camilla has how do you say that?
You see,
Colitis.
ulcerative
I'm gonna have
colitis.
to bring
Yeah.
Camilla some mastika.
Yeah.
She'll really get
she'll-
cured.
Yeah,
she'll-
Justin has IBD, so that's really interesting.
Believe it or not, there's this phenomenal pharmacy here at Providence called Greenland Apothecary, and I met the owner, Christina.
Yeah.
And one day I went in there, and she says, I was actually going to call you today, Maria, because I go there all the time and get their ice cream. They have like a fountain bar, which is amazing. So, and she goes, somebody came into my pharmacy looking for that mastica, that special rock that comes from the island of Chios. And I sent them to your place at Yolenis.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I go, I love the fact that you knew about that, Christine, and you sent them over to Yolenis. So you have to definitely come check out our market.
Yeah.
It's amazing. We ship all over the United States. We ship to Canada, anything you want. We make special boxes for the holidays. Yolenis is actually a special trip to make every day because you're going to fall in love with it.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
The way that I explain Yolenis to people that haven't been there is it's a Greek version of Italy.
It is.
Yes.
So if you've ever been to Italy, the closest one is in Boston and then New York, but it's a Greek version of that.
It is. It's so cool. I love going.
It's a deli. It's a restaurant. It's a grab and go. It's a
so
supermarket. It's really, really cool.
It's always filling me up.
You know, what we did this past year during COVID, we all went through so much. And Lindsay and I, we connected about this on Studio 10 when you were on with Channel 10. Yolenis gave back to the community and collaborated with a lot of sponsors.
Oh, serious, it's so much.
With Mike Pitaro, the Office of Mike Capiano, Rob Levine, just, you know, Dr. Polachek over in Cranston. They all gave back to the National Guard, and we gave back lunches this past year. And I think we gave away about 350 lunches. Our last campaign was May 12th.
Yeah, you guys gave a lot.
Wow.
You gave a lot.
We did.
They did so much though, holding all those like testing sites and the vaccine clinics and everything, and they deserve that. So that was really amazing.
Thank you
that
to the National Guard, and thank you to all the healthcare workers out there who helped us through this, you know, pandemic that we all went through.
I know. It was really
whirlwind.
A crazy
year and a
half.
2 years.
Yeah, what a last 18 months, seriously. My goodness. And, you know, I mean, kind of segueing from one bad thing to another bad thing, we wanted to come on here today and talk about domestic violence awareness, because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And I think that it's tough for domestic violence to get a voice sometimes, especially in the month of October, because the month of October, a lot of people, the first thing they think of is breast cancer, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm a super advocate for that as well. I got some new pink makeup that I'm doing for that, you know, but you know, we like the State House in Providence. We light it up in pink, and we have the big huge Gloria Gemma, and everything is very centric around breast cancer. And I think that sometimes it's tough. You don't remember that. Have you ever seen purple in October?
No.
Because purple is the color for domestic violence awareness. I have personally worked with some amazing people in the Rhode Island community, some shelters, and there's a really, really strong community for women and men and families who are victims of domestic violence here. And sadly, but thankfully, she is here. We have Maria to talk to today because she is a domestic violence survivor. And we kind of want to open the floor up to you. You can tell us what you're comfortable with, and most importantly, I want to give the other people out there the opportunity to hear it from somebody that made it to the other side, that there is a way out.
I just want to say I want to thank you, Lindsay and Lupe, for having me on today to talk about this serious issue that goes on, I think, all over the world, you know. And I want to first start off with, in Greece this year, when I was back home for the summer, I never really paid attention to the Greek news. But believe it or not, 9 women this year, 9 women in Greece got a voice because they were murdered by their husbands or boyfriends. And that's sad, you know, because you never really hear it here in the United States about the news in Greece and all over the world what's happening. But for myself, I am a domestic violence survivor, and I've been through a lot for the past 5 years. My sad story started 5 years ago, actually. I was moved out to the East Coast. I had met a guy. I was living in Cincinnati, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio, too, because that's where my daughter is. And, you know, you're in a new relationship, and you think everything's going to go great, and everything's fine. And this man I was with was definitely a narcissist, you know, and I didn't even know I was being verbally abused a lot. Didn't even know that. And that's very sad because you just ignore those signs. And then one day I was working my long job. I worked for a very, very nice department store, and I love this department store. It's called Nordstrom's, and that's my whole life. I was a personal shopper, and one day I was working a long day, and I came home and I noticed he was acting really, really weird. And he was a silent drinker, I call him. You know, you never knew when he was drunk. So he acted weird that day, and I noticed that he wasn't paying attention to me. So I went through his phone, you know, like most girls do. You know, you kind of want to know what's going on with the guy you're with. Yeah. And when I went through his phone, I found out he was texting another woman. So, of course, what a girl does, you know, you want to pick the phone and see who this other woman is. And when I tried to do that, he hit me over the head with a really thick glass, and I was knocked out for 2 minutes. And he kicked me, he punched me. I had so many bruises, and when I came through after 2 minutes, I didn't know where to go because I had no family here on the East Coast. And I got in my car, and I definitely should have went to the police, but I didn't. Because you think if you go to the police, he's gonna try and say, oh, she hit me first. So that's where your mind goes, you know, so you're kind of afraid. So long story short, because it's a very long story what I've been through, 2 days later I got on a plane to go back to Ohio to tell my parents what this man did to me. And I got my favorite coffee at Starbucks, and I noticed I couldn't swallow my coffee. And I said, this is kind of weird. Why can't I swallow food? And here's a Greek girl who loves food, who grew up in the restaurant business all her life. My dad had restaurants. Yeah. And I couldn't swallow my coffee. And I got on my Delta flight, and Delta gives you my favorite biscottis I love. And I try to eat my biscotti, and I couldn't swallow it. So I get home to my parents, and my mom, of course, has this huge Greek meal waiting for me. And I'm trying to eat, and I can't swallow food. And my parents are like, what's going on with you? And I told my parents what happened. And my mom and dad were devastated. But to make a long story short, it took me 4 years to figure out why I couldn't swallow food. I went to the best doctors in Boston. And you have these doctors telling you in Boston that you have achalasia. And I'm like, what is achalasia?
Never even heard that, yeah.
And achalasia is completely different when I'm telling the doctors my symptoms. I'm telling them that when I put the food in, I chew it, but it just won't go down. Yeah. But achalasia, what it is your sphincter muscle doesn't open close properly, so the food gets stuck and it doesn't go down to your stomach. I go, that's not what I have.
It's not even going down.
It's not going down. I can't swallow food. So they wanted to do a surgery on me in Boston, and before I decided to pull the trigger and do that surgery called a POEM procedure, I decided to go get a second opinion, and I'm glad I did, to the best hospital in the United States. So anybody out there that gets sick, you need to go to the Cleveland Clinic. Because the Cleveland Clinic saved my life, and they figured out what's wrong with me. Wow. So I saw 3 best doctors out there. One was a GI doctor, Dr. Raha, which I'm going to call him out because he's amazing. The other doctor was Dr. Scott Goddard. He's one of the best doctors. He actually was on the Dr. Oz show. And basically, they said, you don't have achalasia. And I don't know how in Boston they diagnosed you with that. So I said, well, what do I have? They said, you have functional neurological disorder. And I go, what is that? I go, I've never even heard of that. And they said, everything that's going on with you, it's not in your head. You're like a football player that has been playing football so much, and you get hit in the head. Yeah. So basically, your brain does not know now when to swallow food. It doesn't send the signals to swallow food.
Interesting.
So, and I said, well, this is all caused by a hit over my head. He goes, I'm sorry, I'm saying it was. And I'm really sorry that you went through all this and you finally got your answer. So I said, well, how am I going to get better, doctors? Because I can't live my life like this, not to be able to swallow food. So basically they said your best medicine would be yoga. Yoga is really great because breathing helps with throat, to relax the muscles of the throat. Swimming, if you get into swimming, is one of the best exercises for you. And you have to do speech therapy. So for the past 3 years, I've been working with a great team at Beth Israel Hospital, who has been working with me with speech therapy, for me to learn how to eat and swallow again. I've been working with this speech therapist to talk again, because not only did my speech and my swallowing get affected, my whole left side of my body, because I was hitting my right side of my head, was also diagnosed weak. Yeah. So when I put the food in my mouth, what happens first is my tongue tremors. And my tongue tremors all the time. If I even stick my tongue out, it'll be kind of gross. You'll see it trembling. So my food just shakes around for a little bit. And then sometimes now the new thing that's going on is I'm starting to drool. Food starts drooling out. And by the time I swallow my pancakes, because that's what I eat in the mornings, pancakes is very soft, and that's what I live on, is it takes me an hour and a half to eat that. 1.5 of pancake. So I get up at 6:30 in the morning just to get done by 8 o'clock in the morning to eat 1.5 pancake. Then I have it down by science because I work with a great nutritionist at Beth Israel. I drink 2 big smoothies that are full of 700 calories per smoothie.
The stuff that you need for the day.
For nutrition.
Yeah.
So basically I start with my base is Orgain. I've done a lot of research. Orgain is like Ensure, but it's so much natural. So I use Orgain to make my smoothie. I put in a protein powder. Then I put in avocados. I know it sounds disgusting, but it's delicious.
No, it's probably delicious. Yeah.
2 scrambled eggs.
Yeah.
I put in actually 3 cans of baby food, believe it or not.
Wow.
Sweet potatoes, anything with like vegetables, so I can get vegetables, fruit. Then I put in a lot of strawberries, a lot of pineapple. I put in fresh spinach.
Yeah.
And then I top it off when I mix it in my NutriBlend with some maple syrup and honey because I needed sweet to go down.
Right.
So Lupe and Lindsay, about a year ago when COVID started, my health took a turn for the worse again because the pandemic shut everything down for everybody. I couldn't go to my speech therapy. I couldn't go to my yoga. I couldn't go do my exercises.
Yeah.
So from 116 pounds that I was, guess where I got to? 103 pounds.
That's dangerous.
So-
and you're a tall woman.
And I'm 5'7". So my doctors at Beth Israel said, if you don't start taking down some milkshakes and some stuff, you're going to be on a feeding tube. And that's when I got scared. And I said to myself, I can't believe from all this PTSD and from all of this, the hit of the head and domestic violence, that this caused my life to be debilitating. And that I can't swallow even a smoothie now. I couldn't swallow my smoothies. It took me an hour and a half to swallow 1 smoothie. So my day consists of me waking up early in the morning to eat 1.5 pancake. Then I can only do what I love to do is give back to the community and working and doing things that I love. Helping out Yolene's restaurant. I got a great job now working for Banana Republic for 4 hours a day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I have to be home by 3 o'clock or 4 because I eat soup at night. And it takes me 2 hours to eat 1 soup. So I basically don't enjoy my food anymore. And honestly, I have been so mad at him for doing this to me, but I've actually forgiven him. And I have to learn now to live that I am a domestic violence survivor and to be an advocate for women out there that have been, domestic violence abused. Women that are verbally abused is also a huge thing out there too, because verbal abuse is actually kind of worse than actually being physically abused, I think, because I was also verbally abused too. So I also see one of the best psychiatrists at McLean's Hospital. He is the best, and not only just celebrities travel and see him too. I was lucky enough through one of my clients from Nordstrom to get me into to see this doctor. And he diagnosed me also with severe PTSD, with functional neurological disorder. I also have functional dyskinesia. So go ahead and Google that. Functional dyskinesia is, and I'm like, what is that, doctors? Is basically I have tremors that go down my left side of the body, so my hands shake and my tongue shake, and that is called functional dyskinesia. And that is all due through my PTSD and also due to my head. And everyone tells me, why didn't you go after this guy? Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you do something? I go, most women are so scared to speak up. They're afraid of their abusers, and that's what I was afraid of. And to be honest, I had left my life from where I lived with him to move out to the Rhode Island because I didn't live here. I lived in a different state with him, and I'm not going to say where he lives.
Yeah.
And this man found me here, where I lived. So
That's
when I was
terrifying.
already done with him, he came back and stalked me here. And my PTSD started back all over again.
Of course, that's a trigger. It's a huge
It was
trigger.
a trigger. And every time I see a car that he drove, a specific car, and I see that car driving down the street, I start shaking. So I have triggers that bring back, my trauma. And I have to say, if you had talked to me about this last year, I probably wouldn't be able to even sit here and talk to you all about what my story was all about. And what I wanted to talk to you about, Lindsay, was I wanted to tell my story. I want to have a voice out there. I want to tell women, don't be afraid to tell your story. Come forward and tell your story and tell people what you've been through and talk about it, because that's the only way you're going to get better, is to talk about it.
Thank you.
Agreed.
Thank you very much. Oh, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like choked up that I can't imagine how difficult that is to talk about, and I'm so sorry that
Thank
you've dealt with all of those physical. People don't
I'm
realize.
mad. Like, just from a guy's perspective, like, I'm mad.
It's
right now.
upsetting. It's upsetting to think too
Like,
that
I want to go after this guy. But that's just like
It's-
the raw emotion,
that's-
like guy Lupe in me, you know.
I was
But-
gonna say let's talk
Yeah.
about how our
Yeah,
complete-
contrast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's just because I, you know, when you had told me that we were going to talk about this today, I reached out to Camilla. Camilla has a lot of and she gave me permission to talk about this. A lot of same parallels where it's the narcissist person, right? And I was asking her like, when was, you know, like, she told me a lot, and I was like, I'm not going to get it that detailed, but it starts with. You don't think, she was telling me there was a point where, it can't get worse than this. It can only get better. So, you know, that's why she stuck around.
And you
And
think that they'll change.
You do.
think that they'll change,
Yep.
and then they gaslight the hell out of you, where they change your whole perception and reality, thinking that it's you and not them. And then we'll have to have her on too to tell her own story, but it starts with this narcissist gaslighting person that just.
It is incredible to me.
And when she was telling me, I was getting angry too, and I was like, "Oh, calm down."
It is incredible to me. And you mentioned it. You said the difference between mental and physical abuse. And the mental abuse is so. It transcends so many different ways in your life
It does.
that you never even think about it. And to think of somebody like you, to think of somebody like Camilla, for a while I was in a very back and forth mentally abusive relationship with someone that I met when I was 20, about 10 years ago. You don't realize, and it's scary. It's actually terrifying sometimes to think how you would rationalize that in your head and how you thought, how you are today versus when you were afraid to go to the police. And to think of somebody as amazing as Maria, I literally am not just saying this because she's sitting right here. She's one of the best people that I know. She's amazing. She's always giving back to the community. She's always helping people. She's just amazing. And to think that somebody tried to dim your light, which is what I say when it comes to that, breaks my heart, because no one should take that from anybody, and no one should have that power over anybody.
No.
And that's what I really wanted to get across today, because unless I've heard this a lot of times before, like, well, you don't know unless you've been through it. You can't understand or whatnot. And as somebody who's a mental health grad student, I understand that thought process. But that's why I wanted to have you on to talk. Even somebody that, like, that one night changed
My whole life.
your whole life.
It changed my whole life because I have always been a strong person, and to become so weak and just so scared to speak up, you know, at that time, that's not like me. Because Lindsay knows me. I'm so outgoing and I love to help the community. Yeah. But for 5 years, actually I take it back, for 4 years, I was afraid to even leave my house. You know, I was afraid that I was going to run into him wherever I go. And I live in a different state from him, and he found me in a different state. And that's what's scary about these narcissist people that abuse these women. And I'm not saying men only abuse women. There's women that abuse men too.
Absolutely.
Sure.
It can be vice versa. So don't get me wrong, it can go both ways. So anybody should speak up about verbal or physical abuse. And it's very sad that I myself, and I don't want anybody's like sympathy, because, and I appreciate your sympathy. What I tell now to my new husband, I get up now to try to survive, because I have to eat to survive, and I have to get up 2 hours early before I go to my job to eat my pancake to try to survive.
Yeah.
So, and then after this podcast, I have to go home and eat my soup because that's what I make. I make a very hearty, healthy soup. That's what I eat for a whole week is chicken soup or maybe a salmon soup.
Yeah.
And it will probably take me an hour and a half to eat that, and then I'll have a little bit of Greek yogurt, and that's it for the day. And the hardest part, Lindsay and Lupe, was 2 years ago when it was the holidays, and you know before COVID hit, and we all would get together for families, and I would get together with my new husband now, his family, and they would all sit there and enjoy their food, and because they're in a big Italian family, and
Sure.
I sat there and just watched them eat, and I would just cry. I would want to cry. And there was one time that I actually went out to dinner with my husband, and we went to a restaurant, and I had to get up from the restaurant and leave because I couldn't take people enjoying their food, and I couldn't enjoy it to swallow. So, and I was telling Lupe and Lindsay this story. There was a baby that came from Greece that Channel 10 did a great segment about Panagiotis Raphael, and
That's his name.
Yeah.
Say that one more time.
Panagiotis
Yeah, you said
Raphael
Raphael.
Isosotti. He's the most cutest little boy you
Yeah.
can ever meet, and I love this family to death. And this little boy had type 1 spinal muscular atrophy, a very rare genetic disorder. And the only treatment for him was here in Boston General Hospital. And the little boy needed a $2 million shot. So
$2 million shot.
Just one shot to save his life.
Shout out insurance companies.
Oh my.
Now, I'm not gonna name the insurance company because it's very, very, very ashamed that he needed the shot. So long story short, his father would, any parent would do this. I would do it for my daughter, was trying so hard to get this money to bring this child to Boston to get this shot. So he went on Facebook and told his story about Panagiotis Raphael, and he went viral all over Greece.
The power of social media. That is what I like about social media. It
Yeah.
can save lives if
can.
used
It can.
properly.
Properly, correct.
And his dad, I asked him when he came to Boston, I go, how did you do this? How did this video go viral? He's like, I don't know, just one person saw it and the other person just shared it and the other person just shared it.
Yeah.
But also in Greece, they also had little stores, they had like little piggy banks that people would donate money to Panagiotis. So in 3 weeks, guys, Greece rallied $2 million, actually no, $2.5 million to bring this baby to Boston's Children's Hospital to get this life-saving drug. And when me and Alexandra Philippidis, who owns Lenny's, went to go meet the family and help the family when they came here, his father asked me a question. He goes, why are you so passionate about my son? And I go, I had the same problem Panagiotis has. I can't swallow food. I would sit there and watch Panagiotis swallow his food, and it would take him a long time just to take it down because his muscle was so weak.
Yeah.
And his father told me, he goes, Maria, you know what? We take that for granted here. Like, we eat so fast, we eat that we just take it for granted. And
Yeah, you're talking to
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
the right people for that.
they eat food. And I sympathize with Panagiotis going through. And now, 3 years later, he is doing great.
He's doing so well.
He's
talking. You had
he
said.
can sit up. He actually, his mother
So
sent me a video
cute.
today, and he was like, he was saying in Greek, he goes, Yashu Maria, mean hello Maria.
Oh.
So, bless his heart, I mean.
So sweet. And that, again, this is why you're the best, because this is one story in a few, but you are just so dedicated, like to see something like that and to take it head on and be like, I'm gonna do something for this family, and that's what you did. A lot of people wouldn't do that. They really wouldn't. So that's absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Let's do it because I love helping people, and I think once you go through something traumatic in life, you just want to help other people, and I want to help other women out there, and I definitely, Lindsay, and I'm thinking about this. I'm going to start a platform and a nonprofit to help women that have been, and men, not just women, and children that have been abused verbally and physically, because it's a huge thing. And during the pandemic, I was reading, and this is true, domestic violence cases actually went up during the pandemic so much.
I remember reading that.
Because more people were home and less people were likely to go to a shelter because of COVID. It was a serious problem. Absolutely. And man, just going back to the
And child abuse. It was
child abuse, yeah.
abuse across the board.
Yeah, and people are thinking, oh, there's fewer cases, but not really. It's just fewer people coming forward because of COVID.
And I think, especially kids that were probably in foster care. A lot of the social workers weren't allowed to enter homes because of COVID.
So we did a very sad story
there
at
was
Channel
a lot
10.
of unreported.
Do you remember what story I'm talking about?
No, but I'm already getting upset.
Well, because
I want to flip this table.
Because
Yeah.
Please don't, because
Yeah.
I can't afford to pay
Okay,
that.
okay, sorry.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful table.
Thank you. Shout out Jordan's Furniture. You don't sponsor us yet, but you could. But it was really sad. There was a child that was being abused, and the teachers had said something to the social worker, and the social worker never went into the house because the parent had said that they were showering, or they weren't allowed to see the physical child, and that's why it was allowed to go for so long. And there have been some really, you know what? There has been a lot in Rhode Island personally around the DCYF department and failures that they have made, and they've completely, actually the executive director at the time resigned. A lot of people left, and they're really trying to rebuild it. And I don't think that this is just a Rhode Island thing. When it comes to child abuse, I think we all know that social workers are overworked. They have too many cases. They're underpaid, and they just can't keep track of it all. And that's something that, also is just really, really tough.
Yeah.
That's
sad.
I mean, those problems like that, those are that's not even the forefront of a lot of people's thoughts during COVID, but
Right.
it's just like, it's the after effects, and it's the sidebars. It's that, you know what I mean? But like, it's crazy to think that a problem that severe is a sidebar, and that is a whole issue in itself.
It's true.
I think COVID accelerated a lot, or put everything more into
Speaker.
like it magnified a lot of issues, and that's why cases went so up and so
It's
far
true.
up. It was just
It's been a rough time.
Yeah.
It's been an absolutely rough time, but we definitely want to thank you, Maria.
Thank you. I want to thank both of you for having me on here to share my story, and I have, my therapist said to me, Maria, you have a voice.
Yeah.
And the best therapy also for you, she said, is to join a choir. Because
Love to sing.
Why? 'Cause
singing
it like
helps you with your muscles and makes your muscles stronger. And this therapist was a genius, because now all I do is put my Greek music on.
Yeah,
I
just
love that.
And I just start
love
singing.
that. That's amazing.
So, and
That is so amazing. I was gonna say, I like any kind of music, so I'll jam to anything.
I remember watching one of those like 60-minute specials one time, and this gentleman had something wrong with his hand, and he used to love playing the piano. Couldn't.
yeah,
Right, because his arm like what's that word? Atrophied.
Atrophied?
atrophied.
Yeah, there you go. I think that's how. But what they did is that they put Botox
It's true.
in his arm, and it relaxed it. It was like a side effect of Botox, and then he was able to play. And then
Well, that's what Botox is. It relaxes
his
muscles.
joke was like, "Oh, I have the softest forearm of any piano player." So it's crazy how like different traditional ways of thinking for like the choir, like that's going to help you. Or like Botox is going to help you, like different things like that.
It's funny you say Botox, because my doctor at Beth Israel, they want to do Botox in my throat.
Yeah.
And I am so hesitant to do it. I know I should try it.
Yeah.
Because it says the Botox will relax the muscles.
Mm-hmm.
But Botox lasts about 3 to 4 months each person. So I'm afraid of scar tissuing. So, but if worse comes to worse,
Well, it's a really, really small needle.
Right.
It's super tiny. So I don't know. They're honestly, if they're doing it right, there really shouldn't be scar tissue.
I know. I'm just so scared.
Yeah.
I
I'm
definitely.
like you. Medical stuff.
They put you to
freaks me
sleep.
out.
Someone
like,
goes
stick
down
me.
there.
I was gonna say. I mean, I don't get Botox in my throat,
Yeah.
but that's definitely
That's a little
different.
scary.
That's
They put you to sleep
yeah.
and they put it inside your throat.
Of course, yeah, no,
So,
absolutely.
but anything. If I get bad again to the point that I lose weight, now I maintain my weight. Now I'm back to where I was.
Yeah.
Ew.
I'm trying every day just to get stronger and stronger mentally and physically, and just taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Yeah, that's
And-
all you can do. Absolutely.
Yeah, and what you said earlier too, and I don't know if there's a word for this, but I think that there's like this underground or unspoken tribe of people that have gone through stuff, and I think that we magnetized towards each other. And I think that's why so many, if you did a poll, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 90 percentile, but a lot of therapists also went through a lot of stuff,
It's
right?
true.
Because they want to help now, right? Yeah.
Our Lindsay.
Yeah.
It's like, no, seriously,
No,
seriously, I went through a lot that I'm okay with talking about now, especially like I lost a lot of friends at a very early age, and I dealt with a pretty tumultuous on and off mentally abusive relationship for a while that I thought I was out of for a while. I would date somebody else, and then I would get sucked back in, and it was just it really is what they talk about, the vicious cycle. And that's one of the things that I'm like hell-bent on. If you see on my Instagram, I'm always talking about mental health, but I'm always talking about gaslighting. Like, you know what? Like, if you know something, you know it. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Because you know how many times I felt crazy? And I hate that word. I am going to school to be a therapist, okay?
Yeah.
I don't condone that word. But I felt absolutely insane because I didn't know what was real and what I was making up in my head, and the fact that somebody could do that to somebody is wild. It is out of this world. Don't let anybody take your power. You are your power. Absolutely.
That's right.
Just like our girl here.
Thank you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me on your show today. Love you both.
Write this down.
Thank you.
Write this down. Write it all down,
Write it all
guys.
down.